It is great privilege to convene this meeting. I feel that current times are very unusual. As we say, it is a kairos moment, especially in the perspective of suffering people in Palestine under colonial occupation in the midst of injustice and brutality under the Zionist political regime. It seems it is very hard to find any hope in the near future. Yet current global events begin to spell imminent coming of a new history of radical transformation, at least the beginning of it, when we begin to discern current global crises. The spirit of the people are about to kindle, particularly the people in the Palestine, a new hope and forge a new vision for new history of their people and for the world. At this time, it is great honor and privilege to convene this historic meeting to gather together the global wisdom and the commitment to justice in Palestine. I hope that this meeting will inspire many people's movements, global movements for common journey for justice, peace, and life together. Coming from Korean Peninsula, which has a similar history of suffering and geopolitical quagmire, I feel akin to the situation in the Palestine. At this time, I especially would like to welcome all the panelists and all the participants. Ranjan, now I want to turn over this speaker to moderator, Ilan Pape. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kim. And thank you everyone for joining us. Let me just start by saying that we had some technical problems of getting Richard Falk online. We do hope to solve this very soon, and hopefully he will join us. We might change a little bit the order of the contributors in order to adjust to this mini crisis that we have. This initiative is organized by various organizations. One of them is the European Center for Palestine Studies in Exeter, which I'm the director of. Just the organization in Kuala Lumpur, the Solidarity with Palestine group in India, and the major impulse was to extend the discussion on Israel and Palestine beyond the West, beyond the United States, Britain and Europe, and involve as many people as possible in Africa, Asia, and South Latin America in this topic, which sometimes is just taking place in the West. As with many terms and references we use today to describe and analyze the past and present situation in Palestine, apartheid too was part of the political vocabulary of Palestinian scholars and activists since the PLO established itself as an independent liberation movement in the late 1960s. But such a reference to Israel, like the liberation movement itself, was delegitimized by a mainstream Western media, academia, and politics. The validity of such application to the case study of Israel was won not through any dramatic changes in the perceptions of the Western cultural and political elite. The Palestinian narrative and discourse were substantiated when large sections and many conscious individuals in the global civil society saw for themselves the facts on the ground or the evidence from the past and were willing to build their sympathy and solidarity with the Palestinian people on that basis. Terminology is an important part of how we understand reality and how we act and react towards the reality, especially terms that are rooted in international law and what Palestinians would call international legitimacy, al-Shar'iyya al-Duwaliyya, which refers to moral obligations unfulfilled and ignored from the Balfour Declaration to the basic rights denied to people who live under occupation, colonization, and siege, and are constantly threatened with ethnic cleansing and incremental genocidal policies. From few scholars who compared both the clear case study of apartheid in South Africa, as well as other models of apartheid, for instance, the one that existed in the south of the United States, the reference to Israel as an apartheid state slowly became common. It began with student organizations, which termed their week of solidarity with the Palestinian people as the Israeli Apartheid Week. In 2005, I participated in one of the first such apartheid weeks in the United Kingdom at the University of Oxford, and one can easily imagine how the local Zionist lobby did its utmost to prevent the events from taking place, with some but not total success. 10 years later, these events took place without any interference, although with a new assault on freedom of thought and academic freedom in Britain, which began in 2016, future events will have to face similar intimidation and withstand it as we all did throughout the years. Academia is slow in catching up, but it did eventually. And in more places than ever before, the examination of Israel as an apartheid state takes place. As with every comparative studies, the similarities as well as the dissimilarities unfold. But what remains is the impulse. Apartheid in South Africa was an abomination against which people with a modicum of decency in them did not tolerate, and did, some a lot, some less, to add their voice and action against it. I'm sure this global solidarity played an important role, alongside, of course, the struggle of the ANC to bring down apartheid in South Africa. By using this language, the same impulse moved movements such as the boycott, divestment, and sanction, and wider networks of solidarity with the Palestinian people, defining not only the occupation of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip as an apartheid regime, but the whole Zionist project from beginning to end, in a way that indicates clearly that what is the alternative for a just and sustainable solution for the future. One based on the return of the refugees, the dismantling of the colonial institutions all over historical Palestine, and the building of a state that is part of the Arab world and the Middle East, and not a bastion of the West and its imperialism. We have a great team today to help us explore